Summer in ancient Palestine. A bunch of woolly, bobbing heads follow a shepherd out of the gate. The morning sun has scarcely crested on the horizon, and he is already leading his flock. Like every other day, he guides them through the gate and out to the fields. But unlike most days, the shepherd will not return to his field tonight. He will not rest in his bed, and the sheep will not sleep in their fenced-in pasture. This is the day the shepherd takes his sheep to the high country. Today he leads the flock to the mountains. He has no other choice. Springtime grazing has left his pasture bare, so he must seek new fields. With no companion other than his sheep, and no desire other than their welfare, he leads them to the deep grass of the hillsides. The shepherd and his flock will be gone for weeks, maybe months. They will stay well into the autumn until the grass is gone and the chill is unbearable. Now, not all shepherds make this journey. The trek is long, the path is dangerous, poisonous plants can infect the flock, wild animals can attack the flock, there are narrow trails and dark valleys. Some shepherds just choose the security of the barren pasture below, but the good shepherd doesn't. He knows the path, he's walked the trail many times, and besides, he is prepared. He has his staff in hand and rod attached to his belt. With the staff he'll nudge the flock, with the rod he will protect and lead the flock. He will lead them into the mountains. David understood this pilgrimage. Before he led Israel, he led sheep. And could his time as a shepherd be his inspiration for one of the greatest verses in the Bible? Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. For what the shepherd does with the flock, our shepherd, capital S, will do with us. He will lead us to the high country. When the pasture is bare down here, he will lead us up there. He will guide us through the gate, out of the flatlands, and up the path of the mountain. Someday our shepherd will take us to the mountain by the way of the valley. He will guide us to his house through the valley of the shadow of death. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into it. Growing older. Aging. We laugh about it and we groan about it. We resist it, but we can't stop it. And with the chuckles and the wrinkles come some serious thoughts about what happens when we die. Is death when we go to sleep, or is death when we finally wake up? Max Lucado, the author of this book, says, as a minister, I'm often asked to speak at funerals. He says, I no longer have to ask the family what to say. I already know. He may have to ask a question or two about the deceased, and he does, but he doesn't have to ask them about what they want him to say. He already knows. They want to hear what God says about death. They want to know how God would answer their questions about life hereafter. They don't want a pastor's opinion. They don't want the thoughts of a philosopher or the research of a scientist. They want to know what God says. If Jesus were here at the head of the casket, in the middle of this cemetery, what would he say? And so, under the canopy of sorrow, Max Lucado gives God's words. He shares the eulogy that Jesus gave for himself. The disciples didn't know it was Jesus' farewell address. No one did, but it was. He knew he had just witnessed his final sunset. He knew death would come in the morning, so he spoke about death. Here's how he began in John chapter 14, verses 1 through 4. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God and trust in me. There are many rooms in my Father's house. I would not tell you this if it were not true. I am going there to prepare a place for you. After I go to prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, so that you can be where I am. Man, and what kind of statement is that? Trust me with your death, Jesus is saying. When you face the tomb, don't be troubled. Trust me. We can get the impression that to God, death is a no-brainer. He speaks as casually as a mechanic who says, don't worry, your engine needs a total overhaul, but I can do it. For us, it's an ordeal, but for God, it's no big deal. We must trust God. We must trust that not only does he do what is best, but he also knows what is ahead. Isaiah 40:11 says, he gathers the lambs in his arms and carries them close to his heart. One day we're going to walk through that valley, but God will guide us. He knows the path, and he is well equipped to get us there. Thanks for watching today. Have a great weekend, and God bless.